the power of visualization, developing young leaders, and the chainsaw effect of Doge. These are all the topics we're going to be talking about on the Richard Neese Podcast.
We believe in all the F words: faith, family, football, and fitness. Check us out on the Richard Neese Podcast every Saturday morning on WKUL.
Please subscribe. Please help us out by growing the channel. We want to help good people get to a better place. Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Richard Neese Podcast on WKUL. As always, Dominic Gill with me today. Hey, Dom.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
So we're recording on Friday, and I always get excited about Fridays. Obviously, the weekend's coming, but for me, I actually do more work on the weekends than I do during the week. I do a lot of administrative stuff during the week, taking care of my people, doing that type of stuff. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I typically get to go out and check out properties, do acquisition,
Get you the fun work.
The fun stuff, the stuff that not that I don't enjoy all of it, but to me, I like to go out and hunt. I like to find the new projects. I like to visualize and project things out and speak things into existence. And that's going to be one of the topics that we really talk about today on the podcast: visualization, speaking it into existence. Dominic, we've been working together 6, 7, 8 years now, and I think you are probably one of the best people that can let folks know. When I visualize something, we put it out into existence, good or bad, it usually happens.
Yeah, no, you absolutely. You definitely manifest things. Sometimes you will things into existence too. Whenever it comes down to it, may not be the best way to do things all the time, but it gets done. But that's the way it should be. If you wait for the perfect plan to do anything, then you're never going to get anything done.
That's exactly right. So talking about the perfect plan, we want to have a perfect plan to help good people get to a better place. Dominic, how can people that enjoy our message, that get something from our podcast, how can they share it? Where can they find it? We're on WKUL right now, but what are some other places they can find it?
You can find us on the Richard Neese Podcast on YouTube.com. Feel free to follow us, like, subscribe, do all those things on the video, those on YouTube land. You could check us out on the radio on a Saturday morning.
Right.
So
Saturday
if you want to
9:30 WKUL.
So if you want to go and get an early preview of it, the audio version, so you don't have to go and look at me, which you might not be looking at me anyways. So you can actually go through on the radio and listen to us there. So we try to reach as many people as we can, and as many platforms we can. We're going to have more platforms coming soon. It's been like the 4th week in a row that I've said that. But as I'm getting situated with doing my own personal studio space and everything, a lot of projects have been set aside. So try to get to that. Eventually, it's going to be a well-oiled machine, and it will be that perfect plan that we started off covering.
Perfect plan. So we're talking about standardization. So what we're going to try and do moving forward is we have the radio show. We want to have it as our first look, essentially our first listen on Saturdays. And then our goal is to put it out on Sunday so you guys can listen Sunday afternoon, kind of shoot for that time frame. So if you actually have watched the last 4 episodes, then you would know that Dominic's talked about that a few times. If you haven't, make sure you watch the next 4 episodes. That's what we want you to do. We want you to get something out of what we're talking about. We want to add value to your life. Now, we're not getting up here as a song and dance to make money off you guys. We don't have any sponsors, nothing like that. We want to try to...
It actually cost us money to do this.
It does actually cost us money. We try and support WKUL and their radio show, radio business here, the radio station. We try to help those folks out. Supporting local business is what we like to do. We want to see people succeed. We like seeing those small businesses, entrepreneurs grow into bigger things and help support their community as well. It seems like so long ago, but just 9 years ago, something like that. 8 years ago, I started real estate as a deputy. Uh-oh, we're overheating back there, I think.
Yep.
Maybe it won't pick up too bad on the audio. So going back to what we're talking about, visualization. So visualization has been something that's come to the forefront. Dominic, I completed 75 hard. I don't know if we talked about it in the last episode because we had a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, it goes 2 episodes back. And then it was, you were on day 74. So, yeah, how did that go? Did you do the final day?
I finished the final day, absolutely. So I finished 75 hard, which was pretty cool. 75 days. You got a group of tasks that you have to do every day. It ends up being about 8 things. Drink a gallon of water, work out twice a day, 1 inside, 1 outside, or at least 1 outside. You got to do several other things, read 10 pages of book. Andy Priscilla created that program, 75 Hard. It's been, I think, 2017, 2016. And then there's also a greater program that's called the Live Hard program, which is a year-long program. And I just started the next phase of that. Took 2 weeks off from 75 Hard and after 75 Hard, and I started Monday. And I tell you, Dominic, it's challenging.
Was that donut good? Was the donut good?
The donut was really, really good. We actually I went down to Biloxi. Not Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving. Valentine's Day weekend. Had a good time with me and Catherine. I had a little bit of a recharge. I got to get out of my zip code so I could think in a different way, do some manifestation like you were talking about, visualization. And now I'm back. And I tell you, Dominic, the hardest part of this next phase is the cold shower for 5 minutes. 5 minutes standing over there. And like, I've done a lot of things in my life between the military, between law enforcement, and just standing under water for 5 minutes for no real reason. I warm up in the shower. I'm like, do I really want to do this? Is it worth it? And so far, 4 days in a row, I've done it, but it's not fun.
Yeah, now that to me is probably just among the most torturous things that you can do to me. I am such a cold-blooded person. My wife, normally you see relationships between the man's always is always warm and the woman's always cold. It's complete opposite in my household. If you catch me at my home at night, I am bundled up. I am huddled up. I look like an Eskimo inside my house just so that my wife doesn't get heated out. And I'm talking, the house is relatively warm, 72 to 76, somewhere's in there. And I'm still shivering, and so in the mornings, my body temperature drops so low, and then getting in that shower after that you talk about, I will just, I've tried it. What the best I can do is lukewarm.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that I haven't had any success in the mornings. I guess I'm not ready to take that on in the mornings yet. I've been doing them in the evenings. Kids go to bed about 7:30, so right around 7:30. So my kids, the first time I did it, I was making some noises in there, shivering, my teeth were chattering, and the kids were making fun of me outside the door. They were still awake then, so they were laughing at Dad. So I decided I'm going to put them to bed from now on, and then I'm going to start doing it. But that's been the most challenging part, is getting myself up for that, which is crazy. You'd think that would be the easy part based off all the stuff that we do. The next thing that you have to do is you have to do 3 more critical tasks, which have been important for me because those critical tasks have been things that I really don't want to do. And so every morning I think of the 3 tasks and I say, what is the thing that's going to move my business forward or my life forward? What are the 3 things I can do that I really don't want to do or that I've been avoiding? I put those on there and it's non-negotiable. Unfortunately, I had to discuss letting somebody go yesterday, and I really didn't want to do it, but it was one of those situations where it was time to move forward with that. I've been working on getting some inventory offloaded. I've been working on making some connections with certain people. And so that's been a good thing. Even though I do a task list, the 3 critical, it's basically a way to define your success for the day. Is if I don't do these 3 things, my day's a failure and I got to restart all these cold showers. So I got to do it. And then the other thing is visualization. So I like to think that I do a pretty good job quarterly, twice a year of visualizing, sitting down, putting things on paper and saying, this is where I want to go in the next 6 months, year. But the tough thing is you have to do 10 minutes of visualization every day. And what you want to do is you want to think about the things that you actually want, the places you actually want to go. And whether that's been about financially, physically, family-wise, faith-wise, all those things for 10 straight minutes is hard. It's really difficult to think about things for 10 minutes of the things that you want. We all think, oh my gosh, it's easy. I want this, this, and this. And after about 30 seconds, it's like, well, that's everything I want. So you start building that out, and it opens up your mind for more things. Have you ever done a lot of visualization on that side, Dominic?
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in law of attraction.
So tell folks what that is. That's one of the things I was going to talk about was there's the secret. The secret.
Yeah, The Secret. So, oh my gosh, what's his name? Earl Nightingale?
I can't remember the name of the author right off, but it's something that
I think it's Earl Nightingale.
Sounds right.
The idea of law of attraction has a lot to do with, if you think of manifestation, it's like basically willing something into existence, that the more that you think about achieving something, the opportunities to achieve those things is going to open up to you. Basically, if you start thinking of yourself in a very negative light, negative consequences are going to happen to you. If you start thinking of yourself in a more positive light, that more positive things are going to happen to you. So it's always important to keep your emotions, your mindset in a healthy place to where you always thinking about positive reinforcing thoughts and then minimizing the negative thoughts. So for instance, like the best example I can always give for a person is you have the same message but 2 different phrasing on it is, I don't want to be poor. You are going, by saying I don't want to be poor, you're focusing more on not being poor, which is going to attract behaviors that poor people will do. By focusing on, I want to be rich or I want to be successful, you start focusing on what it means to be successful, what it means to be rich. Yep. Or a better way of putting it, I do not want to be a failure. Yeah. How many times do failures say that? I'm tired of being a failure. I don't want to be a failure. Sure. The better way to approach this, I'm going to be a success. I want to be a success.
That's right.
And so that's kind of the difference on how to go about, in a very simplified way, the law of attraction is by changing the way that you think, by changing the way that you speak, you start attracting those things into your life. It doesn't mean law of attraction is you're going to start attracting some more people your way. If you're looking for a date out there, it doesn't necessarily reflect on that, but it does help.
Well, Andy Frisella will say about that is with the law of attraction, you say, I want to date that type of person, or I want to be with that type of person. And what it automatically sends your mind to is, how can I be valuable enough? What does that person look for? And that's what I'm going to try and start working towards. I want them to be fit. I need to be fit, or I need to have more money. I need to have all these things. That's what they're looking for. So that's kind of the back and forth. Got two of them. So obviously, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, we talk about that. He has a phrase, I can't afford that, and how can I afford that?
Absolutely.
So that's another way of looking at that. And I would say the most basic thing to look at the law of attraction and visualization is think about when you want to buy a car. And I know you work with a lot of guys that sold cars. When I say, man, I see that this car is unique and I really want to buy this car. And if you don't buy it that day, what happens? You see it everywhere.
Oh,
so as soon as you say you want that thing, you're going to see this person has it, that person has it, that person has it. So it's really opening your mind up. Those things are there, but you weren't focusing on that before. And now you see, I want to buy a big red dually. We're going to see every big red dually come through town that day, and then you're not going to want it anymore or something like that. But that's the way I think about our mind working is when I say, man, I don't see any of those, and they start popping up everywhere, whether that's cars, whether that's businesses, houses, things like that. And I'm constantly thinking about that in terms of finding new properties to purchase and acquire and things like that. So we're trying to push into that realm. But I think the visualization is so important because it starts opening your mind up to pathways of how you can have those things, and not necessarily, I don't want to be broke like you were talking about. I don't want to have to live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
Or I want to have wealth. I want to have abundance. Well, then the mind starts thinking, what does wealth and abundance mean? And so then you start thinking, oh, well, that means having X amount of income. Okay, well, who has that? Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to be attracted to that person. Mm-hmm. Or what? And then you start thinking about things that the people that don't have that, and then you start moving towards that. So you got to make sure you keep your mind trained to move in that direction, if that makes sense.
It's something I was literally had a note before we even started talking about this earlier, was talking about changing the way that you're motivated by things. So, for instance, there are two ways that you can be motivated to do an action. It's either because of the negative consequences of not doing the action or the reward for taking the action. Yep. So in a lot of cases, it's like, well, I'm working this job doing the bare minimum so I don't get fired.
That's right.
Or I'm working this job and I'm going to do it because I want to succeed at taking it to the next step.
Yep.
Who's a more valuable employee? Which one's more likely to succeed in the next level? Think about that right there. It falls in line with the law of attraction and everything else. Is that basically changing the way that, well, I go to work every day because I have to pay my bills. I have to make money. And that's why I wake up every day is to do that. And you're going to go to work and you're going to hate yourself the rest of the day. For the most part, absolutely. You're going to absolutely detest what you do on a day-to-day basis. But if you look at the reward of, hey, today I'm going to go to work. I'm going to accomplish all these things. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take the next steps because of the rewards that come with it.
That's right.
So in a lot of ways, by trying to go down the path of least resistance, it's so harmful for people in the sense of that you need to start thinking in terms of rewarding myself and creating these mental rewards for good behavior, good decision-making, and good action versus, well, I better not do that or else I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get rolled up. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get docked. So shifting that comes along with it because I do see in a lot of people, including myself, that I do things based on, well, might as well get it done or with it. And instead of being more motivated about the positives of accomplishing the goal, and the negatives of not accomplishing the goal. And it shifts your whole mindset on that.
I agree with that. And what I'll say is that everybody's wired differently.
Absolutely.
So there's certain things you're going to push you at certain times. You know, I think you know as well as anybody, if not better than anybody, that I'm typically motivated more by somebody that challenges me or ticks me off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or something like that than I am about somebody that or just kind of working on my own path. Now I'm trying to develop the muscle to build that out to where I'm not as affected by other folks, but it does affect me sometimes because everybody has their own ego and their own thing that motivates them in different ways. And mine for a long time was proving everybody else wrong.
Right.
I've got the little man syndrome. I'll go ahead and say I'm 5'8", and with the Napoleon complex, I think that I've got to conquer. I've got to challenge. I've got to be aggressive in everything that I do to prove that I'm 6'5", right. And I'm not 6'5". But understanding my value and the Giver, the book, the Go Giver, is a great book that helped me kind of understand that. But I think building that out, understanding what motivates you is important to use that at certain times. Right now, I think that I've been more motivated. I've been listening to David Goggins. And one thing it's almost not better than, but nobody is doing it. It's this motivation of I'm out here in the 5-degree temperature, nobody else is out here. And instead of saying this sucks and nobody's out here, I say nobody's out here and I'm out here. So what does that say about what you're doing? It kind of motivates me in that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I know, and everybody's got a different take on it.
And the truth of it all is that, not to go and downplay anything you're saying, is that those people may make an off comment or you may think that way. Usually they don't care. That's the thing. It's like they may have made a comment and they'll never think about it again. More than likely the rest of their life. And what you build up to be is like, well, I showed them. They're like, oh, you're right. You showed
me. Yeah, I think it's really
but it's a good but it's a good motivating factor to always put yourself in a situation where you're pursuing versus being chased.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it puts you in that pursuant mindset versus being chased mindset.
Yeah.
Even though they're not thinking about you, realistically, you're being chased. Yeah. But you shift your mindset to where you're pursuing something.
I can see that.
So it is healthy, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it shouldn't.
That's right.
You shouldn't let it disrupt your entire life to think that everyone is using you as a measuring stick. In reality, the measuring stick you should go and always try to line up with is your own standard. And then it's by raising your own standard that you measure yourself up against that standard. Alabama doesn't measure themselves up against LSU.
Very fair.
That LSU measures themselves.
Picture, right?
Yeah. It's like Alabama measures themselves against their own standard.
That's right.
And that's how they achieve that standard that's above everybody else.
It's me and Zach Gordon, my personal trainer, he's a coach that does a lot of powerlifting. He and I kind of go back and forth on this because you have, like with Relentless, the book Relentless, it talks about the standard that a cleaner has versus the standard that a closer has. And a closer is a step down for a cleaner. A closer is the guy that's he steps up at the big moment, but he's not pushing for that next standard. Right. I think you got to have a mix of the two. Like you have your own standard in your own field, and you start working towards that. But what I do is like, okay, so if this person is better at me at this certain thing, then that's what I'm shooting for on that one. My overall standard is way up here. But for each thing, this guy may only be good at this, but I've got to match that standard. He's good at this, I got to match that standard. So I start pushing myself on that side. And then in the end, my overall standard is higher than all those guys because I'm good across the board, not just at one thing. But I think for everybody, it's different. Obviously, I'm a little bit more competitive in nature than some folks, and there are a lot of people that are more competitive than I am. I've learned to kind of let some of that stuff go and realize this is my path, and that is their path, and it's okay for us to be going at different speeds.
Yeah, and it's important to always choose what competition what competition you're actually running, not necessarily the competition. So if I see somebody,
I got flagged on Meta a while back when they were talking. I post this probably once a year, I'd say. It's where you have the cheetah inside where the dog race is. And the cheetah sitting there that said that this isn't accurate. Cheetahs don't run against dogs or something like that. It flagged me on it. Yeah. But the concept of it is that you need to pick the race that you're running. Just because they put you in that race and everybody wants to see if
there's any consequence to you. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, the consequence, terrible term or word, but if there's any consolation, that's right. Those people that flagged you are no longer employed.
That's very true. It was like a fit tell a cheetah and a dog. I got it. The concept's still there. But it was that you got to pick the races that you run.
All right.
And what I look at, too, is I've got a friend of mine, Kevin Stapp, and we talk about this all the time. He has a different perspective. He is looking at more of a long-term build-up systems and processes, and I'm more of an opportunistic person that takes advantage of flip deals and stuff like that. He wants to build a system out for building 1,000 homes. And it is either one of them wrong. Mine is more beneficial on the front end. His is more beneficial on the back end. So the way that I describe him is a train. So he's laying train tracks to go to one destination, and I'm the pickup truck. I can get there faster. I'm going here, there, but I can't carry near as much weight. And so we look at things from a different perspective, and who's wrong in this? I can get there faster than him. He can carry more weight. Who's the winner? Well, both of us are winners if we get there, right? And that's kind of what I look at is, well, it's our own goal, it's our own perspective, how we're trying to get there on that side. If that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's about your own standard that you're measuring yourself up against. Do you want to be the trained?
Right. Yeah. I want to carry all that weight on my back. Yeah. What is my purpose, my mission?
Yeah. Do you want to have that much momentum to where, honestly, if you decide one day you want to shift gears or whatever,
that's right.
Now you have to stop an entire train versus a pickup truck.
That's valid.
And so, I mean, not saying that that's wrong for that way, but you got to look and see long-term what's going to go and benefit you for your own personal aspirations.
And that's defining success, right? Yeah, so what we try to do on a regular basis, that's actually one of my bullet points on here. We try to do on a regular basis is define success short and long term.
So success isn't just making money?
No, it's not just making money.
Wow, that's a shocker.
People think that.
That's a shocker.
And what happens is the more money you make, the less you actually put stock in that. It's about impact, it's about value. It's about changing the world, doing things like that.
It's a high score.
But that's easy for somebody to say that has wealth, right? It's easy for a billionaire to say, oh, money doesn't matter. When you're starving at home or you can't pay your bills, money matters a lot at that point.
Right. And again, but the thing is, who understands money better if it matters or not, the person who has it or the person that don't?
Right. That's
so at the same way, one person overvalues money, the other person overvalues their time.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest difference. And ironically, the person with more money has more time.
That's right.
So
well, and a lot of that comes down, and we can dig into this. Probably not in this. We only got about 8 minutes left on the radio show, but we can dig into this on another episode or after the show. Education level and what we educate our kids in is important. In that, are we in an industrial system where we only teach our youth and only teach our people in general how to punch a clock and how to work on an industrial time scale or industrial economy? Or are we looking at an entrepreneur time frame? What are we looking at on that? And I think that answers the question. Typically, your billionaire is not thinking industrial. He's thinking about concepts. He's thinking about how to apply those things. He's not thinking about an hourly trade. And we talk about that all the time. I do want to hit one thing before we get too much further in. What in the world is going on with Doge, man? We got all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
Did not think that it's crazy. I mean, that's an understatement. We use the word crazy, insane, so much nowadays that when an actual situation that's going on where you're seeing this level be exposed of what was going behind the scenes and how they're actually trying to give back to the American people, which is, there's no words that, because we use all the words that describe this so loosely.
Yeah,
the proper word.
It's like C.S. Lewis, right? C.S. Lewis talks about the degradation of language, controlling language, and so now it no longer means anything. We've seen that with racism, we've seen that with prejudice, we've seen that with all those things. So here's what I'm going to get to, David. About how long do you think we've been paying taxes, income taxes? Any guesses?
Since the United States it's in the 1940s.
It's late 1900 or 1919 is actually what it was. I think 1919, 1918.
I don't think it's Social Security because that's
Social Security was a little bit later. But we started paying income taxes for federal. I don't know about state, but I know federal was in the late 1910s, 1918, 1919. And the reason I bring that up is because we, as a generation, just expect that taxes are taxes, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Have you heard what they're talking about? Eliminating income tax completely for the federal government, the federal side. Mm-hmm. Hey, that's a novel concept. You mean that if we can balance the budget with tariffs and without our guys paying taxes in, that might be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane what they're talking about. The thing I don't want to see, and you may have seen this on social media, I haven't seen it on the actual news outlets, is they're talking about giving basically stimmy money again, right?
No, so it's not. It's not
$5,000 back to each family. Is that not what they're talking about?
In a tax refund. So So basically, we're just returning the money back to the people. So the difference between the stimulus check and this refund and why it was so much different was that the stimulus money had to be printed. Fair enough. This is money that's already in circulation going back to its rightful owner. Now, will it have a
It has the same effect.
It will have a effect on cost of goods, but overall, for inflation, it's not going to be as damaging as it was as far as printing trillions of dollars.
Yeah, so I agree
there.
So
It's a medium on that right there that I look at it as being overall positive, because you are giving 20% of it's going to the American people, 20% is going back to pay down the debt.
Right.
So I do like where they're headed with it. I don't think it's going to be the stimulus money effect, though, because the why things went up so much wasn't necessarily because of the stimulus checks from everybody. It did affect inflation, but I really think what affected the most was the PPP, all those things where the businesses were able to go and expose a good program to inflate their numbers.
Sure.
And I mean, essentially, you have people who were hiring, where we're counting employees as double salary, all these things, pocketing all the money that they were doing on everything, and then they'd have to go and pay a dime back to the government. I think that affected it more in the long run, because
so there are a couple of different programs that happen with that. We actually took advantage of a couple of them.
Yeah, I did too. As well.
So we're still paying those back at a great interest rate. I was thankful to have that influx of cash during that time. It helped me not necessarily scale, but helped me to kind of maintain and continue to be positive, which I thought was a good thing overall. But obviously, there's going to be waste. We see with Doge. Once you start uncovering that, there's going to be a lot of stuff. What I wanted to get to before the end of the radio show was people will get mad at me, but I don't want to see $5,000 in my bank account. I want to see IRS go away. That's what I want to see. I want to see us balance our budget, and let's stop taking, what was it, in Rome that they handed out bread and cheese or something like that to the poor, and that's what made them love the emperor when they would come through. I mean, that's basically what I feel like is going to happen again, is we're going to try and get this positive swing, whether it's built for the benefit of the American citizen, whether it's built so they'll win the re-election in 2 years, whatever that looks like. I don't want to see it. I want to see that money balance the budget. I want to see negative inflation, deflation. I want to at least see it balance out, and I want the economy to get kicking again. I don't want to see $5,000 in my bank account.
No.
Now, if they're going to give it to folks, I'm going to take it too.
All right.
But on a grand scale, I would love to see that $3 trillion go down to $1 trillion and go down to zero and have a balanced budget. What was it, in the 1990s the last time we actually had a balanced budget? I think it was actually Bill Clinton that had a balanced budget.
Oh, yeah. No.
That was the last time in a long time that we've had that. It may have been one of the few times before that, too. So that's what I would like to see, is let's actually do something that helps the American community, the American person, by fixing the problem that they have created. Literally, they have created. We're finding that out with all this Doge stuff is you're doubling and tripling our debt for what? To give to everybody else. Now, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm not going to take an isolationist approach, but I'm much more isolationist than most folks, especially in the Republican Party. I want to get out of everybody else's business. Let's get a strong America, a strong economy, and then go off of that. We can help in certain scenarios. We can stop dictators, but let's stop having the financial purse strings be the motivating factor for sending American men and women to die. I'm tired of seeing that. So anyways, I got up on my soapbox there. We've just got a couple minutes left, Dominic. I want you to let folks know one more time how they can find us. We're going to do a little bit of an after the show, I guess a second segment on YouTube, because I still got some stuff to cover, but I wanted to go ahead and do a quick prompt.
Yes, find us on YouTube at the Richard Neese Podcast, also on TikTok, also at the Richard Neese Podcast. Facebook pages, Instagram, all those things are still coming soon, building out some stuff, so close to getting the new setup done. Once that's happened, where I can just sit there, work, get everything done, just start pouring out the content, and then we'll have more of the Richard Neese Podcast and other segmented things like we've talked about.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about putting more information out. So we believe in helping good people get to a better place. We're doing this show so we can add value to your life. If you do get value from it, please help us share the message. If you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you talk about certain topics. We plan on having an attorney come on that's a friend of mine. I'd love to have some public officials to come on and talk about. We've had a mix-up here in Coleman County if they wanted to talk about that. We want to use this as a platform to help people.
That's putting it mildly.
This approach.
That's putting it mildly.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of time to really talk about that. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and please check us out on YouTube. Hey everybody, Richard Neese. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the Richard Neese Podcast. This is the second segment, the off-air, off WKUL segment. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Unedited, explicit, uncensored.
I don't know about all that. If we get to that point, I guess I need to save my curl.
It will be edited. It will be edited. Uncensored.
Mind my P's and Q's. Mind my P's and Q's on WKUL. Sometimes I have a construction potty mouth, and I got to be careful about that. And WKO is a great station to be on. They really take care of us a lot of ways, and they're very, very family friendly. So we have to make sure that we monitor what we say.
And they abide by the FCC. So
that's right. We
don't hear.
none of that stuff. So we're talking about those before and talking about the income tax and also not STEMI money. We don't want to make that mistake, but the money that potentially could come back to the citizens. Dominic, I don't think it's a good way for us to dump money back into the economy on money that's saved when it's not really saved.
I mean, in the end of it all, it's money that was wasted of the American people. So in a sense, I do understand why the term refund does apply. But at the same time, I agree with you in the sense of that I think that the best thing that we can do is pay down our debt. It's like, hey, we found some extra money. Let's reward ourselves. So we found a $20 bill in our pocket, but we owe $100 to a credit card.
Yeah.
I'm going to put $10 on the credit card. I'm keeping $10 to myself.
Right.
That's essentially what you're doing. Are you really solving the problem? Or it could be someone else's credit card bill that you didn't realize was on your account. It could be you signed a credit card for your kid or right. significant other, but it's still with your numbers on it.
Sure.
You're going to have to pay that off first, even though you're not directly responsible for the debt. You're still accountable for the debt.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So I guess where I get to, Dominic, is we're still talking about giving money back, and I don't know the details on it. You may have seen it. Who does that apply to? Like,
it applies to people that has paid in.
That's what I was going to go with.
It applies to people who's actually paid into income taxes, federal income taxes. So people who are already getting money back versus, again, it depends on how much money they're getting back. On that right there, they have to meet so it's not going to affect low income people. I know that may, based on my understanding, I could be wrong.
But to me, that would be a redistribution of wealth, and I'm not for that.
Yeah,
you start punching.
It is in all aspects a refund. Yeah. It is not a stimulus. So basically, if you didn't put enough in this year if you didn't put in $5,000 into the federal or more, then you're not going to get that $5,000.
So I'm curious to hear about that too. Like you say that, and then my mind automatically goes to paying income taxes, right?
No.
But that's not the only tax we pay.
No.
You look at the federal taxes that we pay on payroll.
And it's just federal too.
Yeah,
not state. Yeah.
So you look at federal taxes that we pay on payroll, businesses, and the employee.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you may be under that threshold where you're not paying. You're receiving payments from the federal government for your income taxes, getting some of that back. But you're paying it in. So if you paid any of that in, what did that look like? I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways we have to look at that. I just want to see it go done away with. Let's start with income tax and let's go from there. I mean, there are states that don't have income taxes, right? I think Tennessee and Florida, neither of those have income taxes. They have higher property taxes, but lower.
Yeah, I mean, I'm unsure of what states are. I feel like I've heard that about Florida before.
Yeah.
I know that Texas has got significantly less income taxes versus California, because that's how come so many Californians are going to Texas.
That's right.
Especially in the Austin area.
I was listening to Andy Frisella the other day, and he was mentioning that business owners could pay up to 65 cents on the dollar, but between income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, all the other stuff, they're getting taxed 65 cents on the dollar. There's no room for profit there. How can you win if you're getting charged 65? I mean, why would I invest here? And I know Donald Trump was talking about how you don't see any cruise ships that have American flags. You don't see any tankers that have American flags. Why is that? Because they get taxed. So they're not being taxed in these other places. Why not? So I think there's going to be a shift. And you know what? There's going to be some pain that happens with that. But I'll say this, with Elon and Donald Trump up there, they have more business experience than I do. Much more business experience than I do. So I'm going to trust that some of the things that they're doing now, should they have oversight? Absolutely. But I would think that they would know how to turn an economy better than somebody that sat in an office all day or a library all day and learned about it that way. They actually see hands-on how that works.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is that you touched on there's going to be some pain along the way. But I brought this up off air about another situation, though. Anytime you have an infection, the body, the United States, think of it as a body or as the whole body, and there's an infection inside the body, there has to be a fever in order to get rid of the infection, which means the body is going to suffer in order to rid us of this infection that we have. So although we got to go through some temporary pain and we may complain, whine, bitch about it all a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a necessary pain that needs to go through, and that we're all going to have to buckle up and suffer through it a little bit because of all the incompetence of our leaders that took advantage of the American people. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're going to have...
It's not even just the leaders, Dominic. I mean, you're talking about bureaucrats that have been taking advantage of the American people for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. But the leaders allowed it. Leaders allowed it.
That's right. And I'll say that. But a lot of times, and this is what happens when you have... And as you become more affluent, as you have more money, you have the ability to influence politics more. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, very fair.
You can donate to campaigns. You can do different things that are legal methods to influence politicians with PACs, super PACs, things like that fund these guys, that take care of them. So what are you getting at that point is a bought politician. It is a puppet for those corporations. So
without them, they don't. Without them, they don't. Right. They'll put that money to another candidate that will do what they want.
Yeah, and then the other candidate will hammer them, or the PAC will hammer this candidate that's not getting supported by them, and you lose. Why? Because we respond to mudslinging, we respond to bad press better than we do actual good stuff that comes out. That's why very few people can run a clean campaign.
Absolutely, bad news travels farther than good news.
That's right.
Stuff.
Well, and you can say that even about Donald Trump. Like, I support Donald Trump. I think that he's good for our country at this moment. But how does he win against all those Republicans in the Republican primary? Was he the best candidate at that point? No, he literally put them in boxes, just like little Marco, right? Yeah. Little Marco over here. Well, that's bad publicity, right? And whether you like him, hate him, love him, whatever with Donald Trump, he knows how to put people in those boxes.
Well, where's little Marco now?
That's right. I don't disagree. I heard somebody call, I think it was Big Marco. I think it was Bill O'Reilly saying, well, now Big Marco's out there talking with these folks. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, and different, but what I'm saying is that we respond to that stuff, and as long as we respond to that stuff, they're going to continue to do it, which means our politicians are going to be backed by money and not good people.
Right. And again, this is one of those things where you talk about mudslinging and stuff, but we do it in our daily lives because we put too much emphasis on stuff. How many times have you seen where, and this is a fictional example, but let's say you have Jenna has 2 children, Johnny and Jane. Johnny just got his degree, a master's degree, and became a doctor. Jenna just got knocked up.
Yep.
Who's going to be talked about more?
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be exactly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the good. It's going to be the bad. It's going to, because we want to see people. We get
a little pleasure out of other people's failures because it helps make us feel better about ourselves.
That's right.
Which is very toxic and cancerous, really, for us as humans. We should want to see, and we should celebrate more wins for other people too.
That's right. And what I see too on that, Dominic, is even if you have 2 wins there, I saw this, I heard this, I've read this. People want you to succeed until you start succeeding more than they do, and then they're no longer your friend, your fan. Right. They want to detract, they want to criticize, and I think you'll never see somebody that's doing better than you that's criticizing you.
Oh,
that doesn't happen.
No,
it doesn't matter about the character of the person doing better. All that matters is that once you get above that, a lot of people try and pull you back down. Is what happens. So I mean, to me, you see that all too often. And we're going on the campaign side and kind of talk about that. What I want to see is a more efficient, better government system that runs. I've worked at Redstone Arsenal. I've worked with government agencies. I've seen the waste. We haven't even gotten into the Department of Defense. You start getting into that, you're talking about billions, if not trillions of dollars, but you'll start seeing people die after that. If they start messing with billions and trillions of dollars from the defense industry, what do those people do? They're war merchants. They may be in suits and this, but guess what? They kill people for a living, and that's how they control things. No conscience. It's dollars and cents, and that's what's scary when we start getting to that point. But I think Donald Trump will do it. I think now Elon, I don't know. He may or may not. But I think Donald Trump will continue to push on that because Donald Trump wants to go down as the greatest president ever. He's not one that's just going to play by the rules. He's going to do everything he can to be the best president that's ever been.
Yeah, he's achieved everything most people would want to achieve in life. Now this is about a legacy.
That's right.
I mean, he could have called it quits and said he couldn't die being the
Sure.
the 45th president of the United States.
That's right.
And history would have looked back on them, wouldn't have known all the other stuff about it, would have been remembered fondly. But now, as fondly as time goes on, would be no one looks back on historical figures. We're not going to go back and be like, Woodrow Wilson was the worst president ever. Right. You know?
Well, what I was saying is, I heard Bill O'Reilly talk about this last night when he was watching this show. He said that Donald Trump has accomplished more in the first month than any president ever.
It's hard to argue.
Including George Washington, who founded the government essentially in his first 30 days. And he said it kind of jokingly, basically that George Washington
It's hard to disagree.
Yeah, I'm in the both.
Disagree.
That would not have happened if he got elected the second term. That I'm sure
100%. So in the end, you could kind of look at that as saying that Biden regime was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
It's kind of like whenever you're going through a budget and you mean my wife recently gone through there and we found we're doing our own Doge right now.
Yeah.
And we're finding a lot of wastefulness on there and seeing a lot of things on both personal and also doing it on the business side, looking at everything and doing an audit of ourselves. And part of it's like, man, we just had this waste that we're looking at right now. Now we're cutting it out. It's like, well, now we can move forward with it. In the same way, you kind of look back on that. It's like, man, all this waste is happening. But now that we've identified it,
sure,
and now we can move forward and cleaning it out. And it's just crazy to actually see a politician go through and actually clean out and clean up this stuff and trying to disrupt these major entities that I thought would never be disrupted ever. I mean, you're talking about IRS, you're talking about Department of Education,
right?
If you're talking about, like you're saying, the defense,
yep.
The USAID, I didn't even know I never heard of that before. Right. So,
well, I heard somebody talking about that was the gateway, because by examining that, those guys are almost building trust in Doge by exposing it and now saying this is just 1%. Let's look at the rest of it. So what I'll say is, and there'll be people on here that have different political opinions. That's fine. I don't think that Donald Trump is Jesus Christ come again. I don't think that he is the best person in the world, but I think he's doing what's necessary in order to cut down on spending from a financial perspective. Now, do I think he is the most human rights person? He's the DEI? No, he's not that.
But
and that's never been elected.
And we don't need that.
That's right.
I mean, as much as we would love to go and focus on and help every single person in their life and give them, right now we have a bigger problem that if this problem does not get handled, everything else won't matter. And
that's true.
Everything won't matter.
And what I'll say on that is too, the people that actually need help are going to have more help to come when this is done.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many people that don't need the help that they're getting, can get up and go get a job, that can do X, Y, and Z, that are taking advantage of that. That's dollars that could be allocated to the people that actually need it. I do. So I'm more of a libertarian in the sense that I think that churches, mosques, communities like that should take care of each other. On that side, I think we're capable of doing that. And I think the federal government in the 30s and 40s decided to take that over as a way to get votes. That's what I think happened.
That did happen. And then the mosques and the churches and stuff allow the government to come in there because now they essentially don't have to fundraise anymore.
That's exactly.
I mean, look, we're both Catholic here.
That's
if you go look and see what's going on within the Catholic Church with the USCCB, and right now the bishops of the Catholic Church are have a lawsuit against Donald Trump over immigration to get their money back. Yeah. It's like, shouldn't you be more concerned about your own internal things? I mean, I'm sorry, you're worried about immigrants. You need to be worrying about the other priests within your own walls who have a problem at looking at little kids, and you have a lot of issues.
100%.
You have a lot of internal issues, but you're going to choose this fight instead of handling yourself. It's because it's about money. It's about corruption. And
as much as I love Caesar, what is Caesar's?
As much as I love Mother Church, it's got a sickness in there.
Absolutely.
And that, and honestly, I've seen quite a few people out there, some priests who are speaking so against the president on this right here. Whenever you had a professed Roman Catholic president previously, who fundamentally at its core
should have never received communion. For the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, literally, you literally go down into his stances on abortion, his stances on many things in there that's contrary to Catholic Church, but not a peep Why? Because they were getting that check.
It's getting that money. So
they're getting that check. And it's funny now they're going through and you can actually look, and again, we're going down the road of conspiracy theories here, but now they're getting down to where this investigation, that there is a lot of rumblings and rumors of some 3-letter agencies getting involved
in Central America and South America?
No, in Rome, that they had influence on the previous pope stepping down.
Interesting.
Along with the election of that. So something that is supposed to be the sacred guide by the Holy Spirit, that, with no other, may have been influenced by a foreign government, United States.
That's the first I've heard of this, and that makes me sick, but
at the same time, does it surprise you?
No, absolutely. What happened with you talking about the Roman Catholic Church? You also talk about Rome, the empire of Rome, and the influence it had during that time.
A sovereign country. Sovereign country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's disgusting to hear that, but it doesn't surprise me at all and stuff like that. I don't remember.
Again, it's rumored though. It's rumored though.
I don't remember how we even got to that point, but what I'll say is I want to see the people that need help, and I'm willing to spend my own money to do that, and I do that on a daily basis. But I'm tired of Uncle Sam. I'm tired of people in California. I'm tired of people in New York taking my money out of my pocket and telling me how to spend it here. I'm happy to help people. I'm happy to and you've seen it time and time again. I mean, we've given duplexes to better than VFW. We've done all sorts of things to help.
Memories unlocked.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And I'm not in it for sale. I'm not worth $25 million, but we're happy to give because we know that it helps the community. Our stance, as far as our flip properties, thing like that goes, is cleaning up the community. We take a risk that most people don't take in order to help the community, because you have crack houses, you have prostitution going on in these places, you have places that are unsafe for kids to walk up and down the street. That's not going to happen in my damn community. We're going to clean that up, and if we make money off of it, great. But regardless, we're going to take action on that. I can take more action if Uncle Sam doesn't have his hand in my pocket, if he's not taking my money from me constantly, if I'm not worried. Like, we literally have to spend probably $10,000, if not $25,000 a year in tax planning to limit our taxes. We're still paying taxes across the board. That money could be given to my community. It could be going to colleges. It could be doing that kind of stuff. Why is this happening where we're finding billions and billions of dollars taken, but you're taxing me down here?
Yeah.
There's a problem there, and we need to fix that. I think these guys are on the right track, but like everything else, there has to be some sort of protection. There has to be somebody checking and making sure they're doing the right thing. And that's just, you have to have that. I'm not concerned about it at this point, because I think somebody said something about, we're worried about Elon Musk getting our private information. You think the dude can't get it right now without the government?
Yeah, he tweeted.
We ran PayPal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he tweeted. He's like, I literally owned all the stuff for PayPal. You think I don't have? He probably has more information on us. Plus Twitter. If if we really, and I mean me too, if we really understand how much data, just owning an organization like Twitter that's so massive on us as human beings. I mean, again, there's literally just with Meta, there's literally what do you call it? Not trademarks. I guess what's it called whenever you have for an invention? What do you call that? Patents. There's literally patents for texting with your mind through Meta.
Yeah.
Using mind thoughts on that right there.
What else?
So there's
$400 that Elon's going to take from your checking account. Let's be serious about this.
Yeah.
How many billion is the guy worth? Yeah. I'm not concerned about that. And I'm also not concerned about the people he's put in place, because they're all making $250,000, $500,000, or $1 million a year, or they wouldn't be on his right hand. They wouldn't be going through this stuff. I'm not worried about the financial side. Now, is there a bigger play? Is he learning the inner systems? I don't know. He could learn inner systems for a bigger play, but I think he just said, I'm tired of this shit. This country made me, so I'm going to try and help.
I think that's part of it. I think the bigger factor is what we talked about earlier on the radio segment, was talking about that when you tell someone you can't do something, that you're going to do it. And the other aspect is that whenever he got attacked by these people, and that viciously attacked by some pretty mild takes.
Yeah.
And again, he got unwoke, and then he's like, whoa, y'all turning against me? Y'all turning against me over this?
That's right.
Right now? I'm going to burn this whole MF or dash. You know?
I understand on a smaller scale how that feels.
I know what goes on behind the scenes, but you're going to turn your back on me after what I've done trying to help you out. I'm building you the electric car. I'm building you the things that you want to help the environment. We're supposed to be on the same team, but you turn your back on me on this right here over something that's petty. And just what are you going to do me? Okay. Well, let's go and let's open up these files and let's see what we can find.
Sure. I mean, you start.
I think there's a lot of vendetta with it. I do think.
You think that? I mean, you look at his companies and the debt that they incur. They're operating like I'm a part of a couple nonprofits, and our expenditures, our P&Ls are equivalent or greater than these nonprofits. And the schools and food pantries and all these things. And I'm looking, I'm like, this can be run so much more efficiently. We do this inside of our company, and we don't get taxed, and we do better than these guys. So I think he's thinking the same thing. He's like, you know what? I'm bored today. I'm going to take on this challenge. How can we reinvent the whole system as far as the IRS goes so that we can fix it so it's run more efficiently? And he won't make a dime off of it. Somebody will be like, I did that. I fixed that. I helped fix that. I was a part of this. And guess what? He gets to get up on stage with chainsaws and do crazy stuff like that. So, and that's just him.
I literally saw that before we came in today, the first time ever. I wouldn't have known that reference if it would have been on our 5 minutes full.
It's an interesting time. Like, am I happy that we got to this point? Absolutely not. Am I happy that there are people that are going to suffer? Like, we have people that work for us that are from Mexico that are on H-2B visas. We have people from Chile, places like that. I hate that there's going to be pain that's caused in those situations. But if there was an illegal act, then I'm sorry, but it's supposed to happen.
Right. And again, trying to bring it down to real world consequences. I mean, again, it sucks, but when you have a provider of a family, the man, the woman, or whatever, and they start failing as a provider, the children suffer. Is it fair to the children? No. Right. But because of that, and whenever it's time to get fix it up, it's like, okay, well, guess what, kids? We're going to go Dave Ramsey now, and we're going to go, rice and beans. We're going to go peanut butter. We're going peanut butter sandwich from now on. We're going to sell everything.
Sure.
And, to the point where the kids think they're next. Go the whole Dave Ramsey spill. And as a kid, that's like, well, that's freaking unfair. Mm-hmm. You're robbing me of all these things that because of it all. But at the end of the day, to have that level of accountability so that you can live like no one else, or later you can live like no one else as a country, it's a pain that has to be done. Is it going to affect us individually? We don't know. My guess is in some way, it's going to affect everybody in a negative way that you should be prepared for. I'm not saying stockpile and go and buy a bunch of, stockpile and anything and everything. Yeah, but you definitely need to go and start learning how to be a little bit more independent to take care of your family in these times. We're not going through a depression. I don't feel like we're going to go through a depression or anything, but it's also a good thing to learn to cut back and take the
balance your checkbook.
Balance your checkbooks, and then if you can do without something, do without something.
Sure.
If because we don't know what the future is going to hold, and it does look like that during these times moving forward that it is going to have a domino effect, negative consequences. When you have that much money changing hands, suddenly being stopped, it does trickle down to us in some way. We don't know how much of that was trickling down to us, but there's going to be some level for that. And I do think that it would be very prudent for people to look ahead and say, hey, you know what? Before they run out of toilet paper, I'm going to stock up now.
And I think this is going to be correct. I think that there's so much slush. There's so much waste out there that we can live better as an American across the board just by cleaning up that. It doesn't have to be as drastic as a Dave Ramsey approach. I don't even think that Donald Trump wants it to be that much.
No.
I think that they want to go through and show.
I would be against it, though.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I definitely think that would be beneficial for us, especially over a generation, maybe even over 10 years, maybe less. It would be beneficial, and we would see that. But the truth is, if Elon Musk says he thinks he can balance the budget based off of waste, the man can do it. I truly believe he can. He's already seen enough to show that there's so much waste out there. A balanced budget doesn't affect us in year one in a positive way, but you do it for a couple of years and then debt starts getting paid down. Then we're no longer being held hostage by China. by people that are loaning us money, stuff like that. Then we're stronger as Americans, and everybody else is weaker, which is good for us. Then we can pick and choose the charities we want to give to, the conflicts we want to be involved in. Then the accountability is not a bad thing. Accountability is a good thing. And if it's my money, I want it to be accountable. That's where I'm at the end of the day. I haven't even gotten into leadership development, man. It's just been a lot of stuff going on. I get excited about seeing things getting cleaned up.
Like the second segment was, I like the second segment a lot. I mean, there was a lot of things in there. It's exciting. I mean,
I don't care if it's blue, if it's red. I don't care if it's Catholic, if it's Islam. I want to see things done in the right way, in an altruistic way. And then I think the big thing that a lot of people mistake on this is we're treating these federal employees in the federal government as if they were private institutions. They have all these rights and this, and this. Yes, they have basic human rights and protection.
They also have fiduciary duty.
Our money.
And they also have a fiduciary duty.
That's right, fiduciary duty. So it's our money that's being paid, that's funding this. So I have no sympathy for this. If there's waste there, cut it. If you cut too much and we have to come back and bring those back, that's what we got to do. It is going to cost more to bring some programs back. Our contractor is going to make more money off of that sometimes, yes. But if you look at the life cycle of the employee and the cost as far as their lifetime goes, then you start realizing, holy cow, in most cases, it's better to overpay by 20-30% to a contractor than have a government employee. Now, there's going to be people. There's going to be people that argue with me. My mom's a government employee, and you're going to argue. You're going to say, well, we have to have certain secrets and stuff, and this. We're already doing this. Government employees are transitioning to contractors the day after they retire and making 50% more and still collecting benefits. So why not just make them a government contractor to begin with, instead of being a government employee? All right, Dominic, I think we're finished up. We got hitting that 56-minute mark. I enjoyed it. I want to talk about leadership development next time. Anything you need to put out there before we finish up the show?
No. We're good.
All right.
Take care, guys.
See you guys.